I would imagine that the majority of people who are watching this video right now came over here from Fact Fiend. If you didn't, if you found this channel on its own and maybe never heard of Fact Fiend or are now watching Fact Fiend after this, let me know in the comments because that would be interesting to find out. If you do watch Fact Fiend, you're probably aware that things have changed quite a lot recently. With Karl taking over the majority of the editing for himself and the old style being retired, I thought it was finally time to go through and tidy the Fact Fiend archive. This hard drive here is one of a few, but contains all of the earliest work that we did on the channel, and whilst tidying this, I found some things which I wasn't aware that we still had, which included the first ever test footage for the channel, the first ever video we recorded, and a few other bits and pieces, including a conversation which I did not realise we'd recorded, where Karl and I basically cement the style of the channel. So that's what I'm presenting for you here today. Without context, a lot of these clips won't make a huge amount of sense, which is why I'm here. I'm going to guide you through what I'm showing you, which is from the first footage we ever filmed, all the way through to the first episode that was ever released. The first videos ever released on the Fact Fiend channel were released around April 2017, but it was a month before that when we first started trying to establish the style and set up everything relating to the channel. After a very basic discussion down the pub that Karl and I had had about starting a channel, on the 8th of March he came over to my house and we filmed just something quick in front of a green screen for me to test and see if I could come up with a style that Karl liked. The quality of this isn't great. We didn't have a microphone at this point and Karl was just improvising something random on the spot, but here it is, the first thing we ever recorded.
Let's record something.
Yeah, cool. What do you want me to say?
So it's recording now. If you're interested, you can actually see yourself.
Perfect. Ask me to tell you a story.
Okay, tell me a story. I'd like you to tell me an interesting fact about Donald Trump.
About Donald Trump? Actually, I do know a good story about Donald Trump. Did you know that Donald Trump's building, Trump Tower, the big golden one, that's shaped like what I presume his penis is, like solid gold, square and uncomfortable to be around? He says that that is, I think, 80 stories tall, but when someone actually worked out and looked at the statistics, it's only got about 60 floors. But by being 80 stories tall, it's technically one of the tallest buildings in Manhattan. And when they asked him about how he justified this, what it is the first floor is about where all the mall and the shops are. That is about 30-40 feet high. So he worked out the average height of one of his apartments, about 8 feet, and said, well, my first story is actually 6 stories. My second story is actually 9 stories. And that's how he did it. And so when people ask him this thing that's only got 60 floors, he can say it's got 80 stories. So he just lies about how big his building is. How good's that?
So you'll notice that that was shit. Compared to the current improvisational style, that is just really boring to listen to, but that's what other people doing this were doing at the time. Like, Karl wrote articles that Simon Whistler was reading out on Today I Found Out, and that was how he presented his videos, so we thought that that's the way that we had to do it. Obviously, the first thing we actually had to do was get a mic, so here's a little bit of footage of me testing the microphone, and you can see what I looked like back then. Okay, so I'm testing out the new microphone, which is pinned here. It's wired into my phone, which is in my pocket. And what I do is I record sound on the camera and record sound here, and I can sync them up with a loud noise the same way we were doing good takes and bad takes of the claps. So we'll be able to use to sync the sound up, and then I replace the sound from the camera with the sound from the microphone. And hopefully it should sound good. So a few days after that first Trump recording, Karl came over again and we decided we would try and record in a different room, which had more lighting, which turned out to be the kitchen downstairs. You can see here that the look of the raw footage is already looking very similar to what we ended up just doing in the videos. The difference here is when we were recording this, we didn't know that we wouldn't be using the green screen itself. We thought that we'd just be using it to key out so we could put in a different background, just like we'd done in that Trump test. But yeah, this was just to test out a better lighting setup and also to test out the microphone.
So, recording now.
Okay, so...
So both of them now pick that up.
Yep, ask me a story. Ask me to tell you something.
Tell me a story. What did you do yesterday?
What did I do yesterday? Well, I did some work. I had to call and cancel all of my bills for my house, which wasn't very fun because I had to call them up and tell them I'm moving. And then they asked me, well, where are you moving to? It's like, oh, I don't know what the supplier is, my new address. Do you want to change it to our supplier? It's like, I don't know. Your British Gas,
at you everywhere. Well, some properties don't use British gas. I don't know where the fuck did we get it from then? And they weren't very happy. So that didn't go well. What else did I do yesterday? Well, after talking to British Gas, that's called Yorkshire Water. And again, they weren't very happy that I was moving. They had to go through the kerfuffle of cancelling my account, which again, they weren't very happy about. And then they made me tell them when I was moving, and I forgot my postcode. And then they had to look at my postcode, and then they didn't know what my postcode was. And now I'm just rambling because I forgot what I did yesterday.
When we were happy with the quality of the lighting and the quality of the audio, it came time to record the first ever Fact Fiend video. This video won't have been seen by anyone as far as I'm aware, because we have never shown this before. And the reason we've never shown this before is because we didn't finish it. After filming it, cutting it together and watching it back, Karl hated it. I'll tell you why afterwards, but you can probably tell just by watching it why it was so hated. But here it is for the first time ever, I think, the very first Fact Fiend episode ever recorded.
It's a pretty well-known fact that Sir Christopher Lee was a big fan of the Lord of the Rings series. But did you know when he first heard that there was a live-action adaptation of the books being made, he personally sent a letter to director Peter Jackson asking to be in them. And along with that letter, he also sent a selfie of himself dressed as a wizard. Before that though, I'd like to discuss Lee's earlier life, because it reads like a how-to guide on how to be a man who beats up bears. Along with being a war hero who was tasked with tracking down Nazis and beating the living piss out of them during World War II, Lee also enjoyed a several-decade-long career playing some of the most pants-shittingly terrifying villains in cinema history. Dracula, the embodiment of death, and Willy Wonka's candy-hating father are all characters that Lee lent his towering frame and booming voice to. Speaking of which, along with lending his voice to more innocuous projects like the Kingdom Hearts series of video games, Lee ventured outside of his comfort zone into the music industry, recording, amongst other things, a power metal album shortly after his 90th birthday, as well as the introduction to an album with cover art that looks like a screenshot of Skyrim. In short, Lee was so cool, if you put his beard trimmings inside of a pillow, every sound with the cool side. And he was so badass and so frightening that his own burglar alarm was just the sound of himself sharpening a knife. As an aside, during the scene in The Lord of the Rings Two Towers in which Saruman is supposed to be stabbed to death by his subordinate Wormtail, Peter Jackson tried coaching Lee on the sound a man makes when he's stabbed to death, only for Lee to stop him and very calmly explain, "Jackson, I know the sound a man makes when he's stabbed to death from personal experience. Don't worry, I've got this." By far the coolest thing about Lee though is that he was a huge nerd when it came to the Lord of the Rings series itself, reportedly being the only member of the cast or crew to have actually physically met Tolkien. According to Lee, he met the author in a pub by chance one evening and was so nervous about meeting him, the only thing he could do was squeeze out a very hurried, high-pitched "how do you do" before scurrying over to the corner of the pub and crying into his pint about how much of a huge embarrassing nerd he'd been. And I should point out at this point in his life, Lee was one, a war hero, and two, Dracula. And he was still that nervous about meeting Tolkien, which just goes to show how much of a fan he actually was. In fact, Lee was such a huge fan of the series, and was so keen to play one of the two wizards that's starring it, Gandalf or Saruman, that when he first heard rumours a live-action adaptation was going to be made, he called up his agent and very sternly told him, "I need to be a wizard." Lee specified to his agent that he didn't care where the project was being filmed, how much it paid, or who it involved. Only that, in it, he had to be a wizard, because he needed to have footage somewhere of him doing magic in a cool robe. Lee's thinking was that, to get a leg up on the competition when the time came to eventually audition to play one of the two wizards, it would help if he could tell the director that he'd already played a wizard before. Eventually, Lee's agent found him exactly the role he was looking for, playing the legendary Wizard of the Woods, Olwyn, in the TV series The New Adventures of Robin Hood, which Lee auditioned for and got, because of course he fucking did. During the production of the 6 episodes that Lee starred in for that series, he took the chance to take a selfie while wearing the pimp-ass wizard robes that he got for the role. When Lee found out that Peter Jackson had been slated to direct the movie and would have a hand in casting it, he took this picture and sent it to him, along with a small note reading, "This is what I look like as a wizard. Don't forget that when you cast the movie." Yes, you heard that correctly. Christopher Lee took a selfie of himself, dressed as a wizard, and sent it to Peter Jackson. As it turns out, when Lee was cast as Saruman and got a chance to speak to Jackson, the director told him that he never actually had anyone else in mind to play the wizard, stating that only Lee could bring what he needed to the role. What he needed, obviously, being a stone pimp with a voice so deep and intimidating, Satan has it as his ringtone.
So that recording session took us over an hour to do, because we recorded it from multiple different angles, and Karl was not very good in front of the camera. It'd been a while since he'd done something like that, like with his stand-up he used to do, and he was just struggling with the incredibly restrictive format of just reading out an article directly to a camera. I'm guessing you figured it out, but the obvious reason why this wasn't working, or why Karl hated it, and why now I'm watching it back, I realise how bad it was, is because it's boring. Like, presenting like this, at least at the time, wasn't something Karl was very good at. He came from a stand-up background. He was good at improvising. He was good at making things up on the spot, making jokes. He wasn't good at just reading out his articles. So doing that was a terrible idea. Maybe now he could do something like that because he's practiced with speaking in front of a camera. But back then, it was just awful. It just wasn't fun to watch or listen to. But at the time of recording this, we weren't aware of that. We didn't really know until we put it together what it was going to come out like. And the plan was always to have the main article bit, the fact, to be just read out. And then at the end, we were going to have a joking bit about like, comment, subscribe that would be improvisational. It would include a conversation between the two of us, just so that people got to see like a look behind the scenes at the personalities who were making the videos. And we didn't realise at the time, but filming this part was what eventually led on to being the actual format of the whole channel. And you can be able to see while watching it, Karl is really enjoying himself. He's really having fun with this particular style of just, joking around and adding his own little flares in every single sentence, doing several different takes to make sure that it came out well. This was the most fun he'd had in the whole recording session.
It might work better if I say to you, say like, comments. If I say, like, do the like, comment, subscribe bit now, and you say, do I have to?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah. So you're looking at me. So all we've got left to do is the like, comment, subscribe bit.
Do I really have to do that?
You kind of have to.
No, but do I really have to do it?
Yeah, it's part of YouTube now. You just kind of have to do it.
If people like the video, won't they just like it? And if they want to subscribe, they'll subscribe?
You'd think so, but
I have to say it.
you have to say it.
Okay, well, at the very least, can you put the subscribe button where my dick is and make it get more erect as I get excited about talking about subscribing?
I can do that.
Great.
Right, you don't need to do the bigger erect thing, but just say, can I put it where my dick is?
And you'll say, yeah, and I'll go, great.
Yeah, and you go great with a shitty and grin. And then it'll obviously cut to you going like that.
And I was going to go, awesome.
Okay, all we've got left to do is a like, comment, subscribe bit.
Do I really have to do that?
Yes.
Why?
It's just a thing. Everybody does it now.
Won't people subscribe if they find the video interesting?
You'd think so, but it just kind of doesn't work like that.
At the very least, can you put the subscribe button where my dick is?
I think I can do that.
Great. We'll do it one more time, that's fun. I like this banter. Right, we'll do it one more because I like these. These are fun. These are fun to do.
This is the best part.
These are sketches. These are your sketches, mate, that you always wanted to do. We put them at the end of the video. We're sneaking them in.
It'll just be a bit different whenever.
What's that one about? Yeah.
Yeah.
A little sketch at the end.
It'd be really funny if there's one where you're wearing a green shirt.
Yeah.
I said,
that shirt is not going to work.
Do you
for
not have
sure.
another shirt with you? Why? Because you're wearing a green shirt. There's
That's
a green
not a problem.
background. What difference does that make? The background. I'm not.
It just shows it.
Do you not know how this works?
No.
It cuts you with no body. Going like, comment, subscribe. So we've got all the footage we need. The last thing we need is the like, comment, subscribe thing.
No.
Why?
Come on, mate. That's a bit cliche. I'm not in this game to do the same thing as everyone else.
But you kind of have to. It's just
I have to do. No,
it's
I
a
don't.
YouTube thing.
It's a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
All right then. Where does the subscribe button normally go?
In the corner or the bottom?
No, I've got a better idea. Right, then we'll do one more. This is fun. This is fun.
Right, so we've got all the footage. We just need the like, comment, subscribe bit.
No. I don't like that. Seems a bit cliche.
Yeah, but we kind of have to.
We have to. No.
No,
we don't.
seriously, we need to.
No.
It's a YouTube thing.
It's not a YouTube thing.
If you don't put it on, people won't do it.
People won't do it if I don't tell them. You have little faith in. I have more faith in people.
Well, I don't. What we could do actually is put the screen on the floor instead. Or at least lower the screen.
Just so you can get.
Just so that I can still not show too much.
Oh
of the
no! There we go.
Oh. Is it leaned on your back?
Just so.
Also, you want to leave this. Just if you want to leave the subscribe button to the end, just say. We're a new channel. We're hoping to release content 3 times a week. And if you give us a like if you like it, I'll throw a comment on, say anything we can improve, and obviously subscribe.
No, as I'm talking, I want to subscribe.
You want to
I want it to be constantly going on at the end and say, and as well, if you could subscribe, that would make me really, really happy. Because at the point where it's like fully erect.
It's apex.
Yeah. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. It's a new channel, so if you can leave us a like, or a comment below with any comments you might have. That would be really helping us out. And as well, obviously, to help with channel growth, it would make me very, very happy if you could just click that subscribe button. Have a great day.
So we took all of that footage, which, including that end bit, came out to about an hour and a half at least altogether, and we edited that up into what was supposed to be the first episode, which the rough cut of you've just seen now. And we watched it back, and Karl said to me that he hated it. It looked awful. And he said that the funniest parts, the parts he liked the best, were the bits at the end, where we were just talking back and forth and having a chat. So we went back down to the kitchen, and at this point I was really unsure of what he wanted, because it was so alien to me to think that somebody would want to have a filming style where they talk to the editor or the camera person behind the camera and present in front of a green screen that isn't really being used properly. It seems strange because nowadays it's not that uncommon for people to talk to the person off camera, but back then it wasn't really something people were doing a lot, especially not in like a factual presenting kind of capacity. So yeah, I had no idea what he was talking about, but this is the conversation we had, and I didn't know we had this. I've said a few times I think we still had a copy of it, but I thought I deleted it. So being able to find this and show it to people is actually quite interesting because you can see and hear the thought process. Unfortunately, we didn't have the audio recorded for this, so it doesn't sound great. I've done what I can, but there's not really much I can do with it because it's come directly from the DSLR and I hadn't set that up properly at all. But yeah, this is the conversation where we came up with a style and then a re-recording of that original Christopher Lee video, but in a more improvisational style. And you can see during that the little intricacies and jokes and tangents which eventually developed into the style that got us to the point where we had, 750,000 subs and I think it's like 300 million video views altogether. Like big numbers.
So what you would do is you would have it start off with the point that we're supposed to be talking about.
I'm thinking like cutting away. Maybe I'm using the green screen. Like the green screen, just have it here, but then don't use it. Maybe.
What do you mean? You want to just have a green screen in the background?
Do you like a bit like a behind the scenes thing?
Yeah.
Of like a conversation, maybe.
If you do that, you put yourself against a white wall rather than a screen. The screen was so that you can put graphics behind you.
Yeah, I don't know.
You want to make.
I want it to look unprofessional.
Right. Then what you want to do is avoid using direct lines of dialogue from your article if you can. Because if you say something from the directly from the article,
it's not the way I speak.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean. It's not the way I talk. I want to tell you a story about Christopher Lee. Well, what are we talking about today then, pal?
So today's video is going to be about Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. I told you a story about the time he sent Peter Jackson a picture of himself dressed as a wizard.
I don't think so.
Yes, this is a great story. Do you know anything about Christopher Lee's early life?
I know a bit.
You know he was a fan of Tolkien, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Big fan of Tolkien. He actually met him once in a pub. According to Lee, he met him in a pub and he was so nervous. Like, this is Christopher Lee, he's 6.5 foot tall.
Yeah.
So, way up there. He played Dracula, Count Dooku. Well, obviously not back then. I don't think Tolkien saw Star Wars. Did he? Did he see Star Wars? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody can put it in the comments.
I'm sure they will. Mate. Yeah. He played Dracula, he played Death, he was a World War II hero, he beat up Nazis in World War II. Met Tolkien in a pub, goes up to him, how do you do? Ran off the corner of the pub, pissed himself into his pint, he was that scared of meeting him. Apparently during their conversation, I think Gandalf came up, talking and said, oh, I'm a big fan of your books. I've always wanted to play Gandalf on stage, but imagine that only it's his voice. Oh. So different in every way and sexier. But now it belongs to a skeleton, so I don't know. So yeah, he was the only member of the cast, of the crew, who met Tolkien physically, which meant that he felt he was destined to play one of the wizards. The only problem was he didn't have a role as a wizard on his CV when he heard that the films were being made. You could talk to him, I want you to talk to him.
Yeah.
I want to hear like banter back and forth from you. Because like off camera, that's the idea I'm thinking of.
I've got black now.
That's what I mean. Or like just, or if you laugh.
The thing is, we've spent so long recording this now that when you're saying these things, because I know them that well, I'm trying to think to myself what would I ask in this situation.
Oh boy.
He said he chose wizard. No, he said he didn't have a wizard on his CV.
No, he did. Yeah, he wasn't a wizard on his CV, and you can't play a wizard if you've not been a wizard before. They're the rules of playing a wizard on TV. So Daniel Radcliffe, wizard in real life. Not even kidding. Probably am, I don't know. But he went to his agent and said, I want to be a wizard.
And nobody's going to turn Christopher Lee.
You're not going to turn Christopher Lee down. Imagine the conversation at that Asian house. His phone rings. It's Christopher Lee. What do you want? I want to be a wizard. I'm sorry, Chris. Don't call me Chris. I want to be a wizard. Okay. Anything in mind? Lee, he's wanting to play a wizard. Called his agent, wizard. Any don't care, wizard. Any pace, wizard. Do you mind who's acting? Wizard. So he went out and he found the role as a wizard. And do you know which role that was?
Which role was it?
Do you know which TV show he appeared in as this wizard?
Some shit one, I imagine.
Yeah, no fucker knows because he didn't care. It was a shitty TV show, The New Adventures of Robin Hood. And he played a wizard called Olwyn, I think it was. He wears bright blue robes and all the pictures from it are fucking awful. There's a picture of him, I think, from behind the scenes and he's just holding an orb of energy in his hand.
Is it an orb or is it one of the special things from Lord of the Rings?
I don't know.
What were they called? Phalantiers? Something like that?
I don't know that. I'm not going to pronounce that word with my accent, mate. He went and he said, I want to be a wizard. He played Olwyn. He turned up for 6 episodes. He did his bare minimum 6 episodes. And while he was there, he took a picture of himself dressed in the robes. Bear in mind, he was like an 80-year-old man.
Did he say that the robes were blue?
Yeah. So he took pictures. He wants to play Saruman or Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White. You may notice there's something about those names. Like, what does Saruman wear in the films?
I'm going to say white.
There's a very Colgate-esque feel to those robes, is there not? Especially and then Gandalf the Grey, what does he wear?
I think it's in the name.
He's not the colour sheet by any means, is
No.
he? And then Gandalf the White. But no, he thinks, I want to play a role where I'm wearing this Fisher-Price kid's birthday party. They couldn't afford a guy dressed as Spider-Man,
See, I think
magician.
that'd be more terrifying. Seeing Christopher Lee in that outfit.
You know what? I'd prefer to see him dressed as Spider-Man, but that's besides the point. So they get this role, and he dresses in these wizard robes, and they look fucking awful. When he turns up, and bless him, he acts his heart out. And he snaps a picture of himself dressed as a wizard, and he sends it to Peter Jackson. So imagine Peter Jackson's response at this point, when he gets a letter from Christopher Lee, and in it, he opens it up, and it's just a picture of Christopher Lee dressed as a wizard.
Are we talking a proper letter as well, with a printed
He
one?
actually dropped
He just sent him a picture, he sent him a letter.
Yeah, he sent
with
an
a
actual
picture of it.
letter, and in it he says, "This is what I look like as a wizard. Please remember that when you cast the movie."
See, so you got cast because of this picture?
No.
No.
Peter Jackson's going to cast him anyway.
Really?
Of course he fucking was. He's Christopher Lee. Who else are you going to cast to play the badass wizard that he ended up being? But Lee was so nervous. Like, no, I need to be a wizard. A wizard needs to be on my CV. And also, I'd like to point out we're not actually recording.
We're recording, yeah. I did say leave the audio.
Yeah. If this works, we'll pick another article.
The end of Karl's sentence was cut off there, but what he was saying is, if this is good, then we'll pick another article and we'll film the actual first video. And that's what happened. After that, we chose the District 9 video and we kept that style, and it gradually evolved over the years into what it's become now. That District 9 episode starts out with a joke about Karl being very wooden and us cutting away to a more casual style. That was born from this. We filmed that because that was essentially the creation process of the channel. We realised Karl was too wooden when he was talking directly to a camera with facts, and that's why we decided to do an alternate style. And you'll also notice that the joke about the subscribe penis eventually made it in. You know, I'm going to put that clip in now, because those things we used to do with these subscribe, like comment, subscribe gags, we stopped doing them after a few months, but some of them were really funny. So, subscribe penis, you're making a return right now.
So hi guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. We're a new channel, so if you want to leave a like or a comment with some suggestions or some feedback, that would really help us out. And as well, if you like what you see, why not subscribe? It made me really, really, really happy if you did that. If you just click that subscribe button right now, I will be very grateful. Have a great day. Is that too much?
I hope people have enjoyed this little insight into the history of the earliest days of Fact Fiend. I do still have the raw footage from all of the original episodes, and I'm genuinely curious, because back then I used to cut them down to try and make them very short. So I'm genuinely curious if there'll be a load of interesting nuggets that I've cut out that I might be able to turn into another video. So there could possibly be another from the archives video, which has some of the cool bits that were cut out of earlier videos for time. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. This channel has a Patreon and it is fully funded by that Patreon. So if you enjoy this content or even enjoy watching stuff over on Fact Fiend, because all of us who work on the side channel also work on Fact Fiend, you can support us by joining that Patreon, and you get access to all of the extra stuff. There's a movie watch long thing we do. You can vote and I'm terrible at this. Just it's fun over there. Just join the Patreon. It's great. I genuinely enjoy going back through this old stuff, like reminiscing. I've got a terrible memory, so it was interesting to actually see these things myself. And I have done a lot of cutting down. It was about 3 or 4 hours of footage I had to go through altogether. I've chosen the best bits, so be grateful.
Once again, thank you to our patrons.
You sound angry.
Because I'm just saying it properly this time. Patrons. I don't want to give away I'm a robot, okay? I mean, cut that out. Yeah, as you can see, scrolling on the screen are our supporters.
We're definitely going to get better at this.
But our VIPs get a special shout out in the form of top movies.
They do. We're all the way now to movie 64, which is the classic Witness for Rael E. Waters.
It's Walters.
What Walters? Rael. I can read.
Number 65 is Anders Lalians.
Excellent. Number 66 is Maxwell Steesman into the Maxwell Steesverse.
Number 67, we have Coffee Soap Beauty.
Oh, I've got this title so long.
Oh my god.
Number 68, Dr. Strangelove, or How We Learned to Stop Worrying and Love, RR7567.
At number 69, we're
Nice.
The Dark Sean Watson Rises.
At number 70, Old Coloran Boy.
At number 71, we have Scopa Renton Bastards.
You can just say Glorious Bastards. You don't need to pronounce the E.
Bastards!
Bastards. 72, Amma Taylor Brandwood. Yes.
At number 73, we have Co, my shoe set 69 Co. It's the best I can do with Coco.
At 74, Ian Lear's Story.
Oh, what? How am
Nisha has Joker.
At number 75, we have Robert Huttoner. I
Good
don't
effort.
know.
At 76, Brave James Martin.
Number 77, we have Das Tamaki.
At number 78, we have Avengers. End Sam TDS. The entire film is the Avengers going after Sam TDS.
Number 79, we have Princess Captain Scotland.
So many titles. Princess, Captain. At number 80, Once Upon an Impy in America.
At number 81, we have Good Trang Pham Hunting.
At number 82, we have Your Alicia. Full stop.
At number 83, we have Grimbacore Idiots.
And finally, at number 84, Singing in the Zeren King. How do you say that?
Zeren?
Zeren King. Correct me in the comments.
We're just sat here processing what we've just done.
Yes, this is the fourth one of these we've done now for every one of our I keep want to say patrons now. But yeah, we enjoy doing these. Big thank you. Every single time we're going to try and do something different. So if you enjoy listening to these and you want your name in one, then join the Patreon at the VIP tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.